Good evening, folks. This is Bill Breeden. Welcome to my constellation tour, number 46. Tonight we're going to talk about Monoceros, the unicorn, located along the celestial equator. Tour number 46. Did you think I would make it this far? I had my doubts, but we're two constellations now into the second half of this, so I guess I'm pretty committed to go through all these. So thank you for sticking with me through this. I do appreciate it, and I hope it's been helpful to you to find your way around the night sky and just to enjoy this wonderful hobby of stargazing. It's brought me a lot of joy over the years, and I hope it does the same for you. So we're going to talk about Monoceros the unicorn, and it's best viewed between January and March, just like Lepus. So it is a winter time constellation. So we have Stellarium set up for January the 15th, 2021 at about 8:20 p.m. with a 60-degree true field of view in the sky, which is about what you see when you look up, and moderate light pollution that you would get in the suburbs. So let's start our simulation here and peruse Monoceros the unicorn. Sort of an obscure constellation. There are some objects in it that have made it popular, including a Hubble image. But as far as well-known constellations, it's really not. And its proximity to Orion makes it pretty easy to find. It's another one of those that would be hard to find if it wasn't for the bright signpost of Orion. So let's set out to find Monoceros the unicorn. We're looking south in winter in the early evening, and let's start by finding Orion. Here's Orion's belt, and here are the bright stars of Orion, which I like to go over each time here because I think it's important to know the names of them. Betelgeuse, Bellatrix, Rigel, Safe, and then the three belt stars. Alnilam, Alnitak, Alnilam, and Mintaka. Let me do that again. Alnitak, Alnilam, and Mintaka. So, where is Monoceros? Well, if you remember how to find Canis Minor, the lesser dog, and its bright star Procyon, you remember you come off these two stars at the top of Orion, and you generally keep going, not quite straight, but straight enough where you find this bright star here, and that is Procyon. So with that, you have found the lesser dog, or Canis Minor. Okay, so if you follow the belt stars downward until you reach this bright star, you have found Sirius in the constellation Canis Major, or the greater dog. So you have Procyon and Sirius. So this is Canis Minor, this is Canis Major, and this empty space right here where there seems to be nothing, that's Monoceros. That's where you find the unicorn. So like the mythical unicorn, it's almost impossible to find unless you know where to look. But you really don't see anything from a suburban sky. You may see a few fourth magnitude stars poking through. One there, one there. That one's almost fifth magnitude. One there. But in general, it's this empty area of sky just off to the left of Orion, or off to the east of it. So let's put up the mythical figures, and let's take a look at the unicorn. The unicorn is pretty big. I mean, there's a lot of sky here. I mean, Monoceros may be bigger than Orion in terms of sky area, but there with no real bright stars there, it tends to get overlooked. So you can see the area of sky that it covers. It's kind of shaped strange. It's everything inside this line here that I'm highlighting here with the arrow. Well, that I'm tracing. And you can see the mythical figure kind of breaches into Canis Minor a little bit, but the official constellation is here within this boundary. Okay, so there are no bright stars in Monoceros, but I do have one multiple star within the boundaries, and that's Beta Monocerotis. So let's take a look for that. Monoceros is one of my favorite constellations, and you'll see why when we start digging into the deep sky objects. On a side note, Monoceros actually has more deep sky objects than Orion does. So let Orion be your signpost, but if you want to dive into deep sky objects, when you're done with the 3 or 4 that are in Orion, head over to Monoceros. So here's a multiple star here, Beta Monocerotis. I have to look at the pronunciation of that. And through the finder, it looks like there's a star here just above it. I'm not sure that that's the double. Let's see how well this splits. Oh, it does. It's a tight double. Oh, it's 3. That's right, it's a multiple star. Now, this one splits again. Yeah, Stellarium doesn't do it justice, but it looks like you get a bonus here if you put enough power on it. So through the eyepiece simulation here, even with my 9mm Delight, this triple star system here just barely starts to separate. The best way to simulate it in Stellarium is to zoom in on it manually. That's the way I get it to split like that. So even the eyepiece simulations don't quite cut it. So that's Beta Monocerotis. So a good one to look for. Okay, let's return to a naked eye view. And we can start diving into the deep sky objects in Monoceros. So before we head to one of my absolute favorite Messier objects, I'm going to venture to a dark site. So let's do that. Let's make it dark. Okay. Now you'll notice that Orion still stands out even with all these other stars in the sky. You've got Betelgeuse and Bellatrix, Rigel and Saiph. Follow these 2 stars over here, Procyon. And this big area of the sky right here is Monoceros. And there's only one object on Charles Messier's deep sky list that's in Monoceros. It does have several NGCs that we'll go into, but let's start with the Messier object, and that is M50. And M50 has gotten me out of a nice warm house and out into the cold to drag my telescope out to a dark sky site, because I love M50. It's just such a really nice open cluster. So let's have a look at it through the finder. And it's in a really, really pretty area of the sky too, as you can see from this simulation. M50 is 3,260 light years away and shines at about 6th magnitude. Now let's look at it through an eyepiece, and let's turn down the power just a tad. It looks good with this one. I like that view. That's the view through a 13mm Nagler with an apparent field of view of 82 degrees, giving you this nice wide angle field of view, and the open cluster is just stunning. And if you think it looks nice here, get your scope out in the winter and take a look at M50. It is gorgeous. And as you can see here, the view through the finder To give you an idea of what this area of the sky looks like in binoculars, just perusing this whole area of the sky with binoculars from a dark sight it's a spectacular part of the sky. So Monoceros is aptly named the unicorn. It really is a magical part of the sky. Okay, let's move on to the next object I have on the list here. It's another open cluster, big surprise. It's NGC 2232. And this open cluster shines at magnitude 4, and we don't have a distance listed here, so I guess we don't know. So through the wide-angle Nagler eyepiece, it does look like a pretty loose open cluster. It's also got a colander number, colander 93, and that's pretty typical with colander. Colander objects tend to be really loose open clusters, and quite stunning. Most of them have some color to them. The different stars shine with different color ranges, light blue and amber. White. Really stunning. Okay, the next one I have here in Monoceros is NGC 2244. It's another open cluster. This one is a Caldwell object, and this one is Caldwell 50. Messier missed this one. This should easily be a Messier object. This was made popular by a Hubble image. The Rosette Nebula is amazing for imaging. It is amazing for binocular. It's amazing for telescope viewing. And I'll tell you why. Through this simulated finder scope view, all this pink area, this nebulosity, will appear gray. You won't see the color through a telescope, but imaging, you will easily be able to get to the color. But through an eyepiece, okay, as pretty as this is with the pink there, you won't really see that. You'll see a haze of gray, but the open cluster that you see within the nebula is cataloged as colander 99. So you have the nebula, and within it you have this beautiful open cluster. And actually, I don't believe they're related. It's just that they may be related. It lists it here at a distance of 9,100 light years. So nebulas tend to be closer to us than open clusters. Nebulas are typically the distance that stars are from us. Tens of light years, hundreds of light years, maybe 1,000 or two. But this is listed at almost 10,000 light years away, so not sure they're related. But again, an outstanding object for any equipment. Binoculars, finder, telescope, imaging, all can enjoy the splendor that is the Rosette Nebula in Monoceros. So how do we find that? Well, how did we find Monoceros? Let's go over that again. Here's Orion, the top two stars, Betelgeuse and Bellatrix. You follow them over this way to Procyon, and this big empty area here is Monoceros. But if you'll notice, about a third of the way over between Betelgeuse and Procyon, you'll see this slight nebulosity here. That is M50. And by naked eye, you're most likely to see the clump of stars of the open cluster rather than the nebula itself. Okay, next is NGC 2264. And this one's commonly called the Christmas tree cluster. It is another colander object, colander 112. And the view through the finder scope or through binoculars is spectacular. This is magnitude 4, located about 1,200 light years away. It's a stunning, stunning cluster. Now, can you see the shape of a Christmas tree? Now, through this simulation, it's kind of hard to make it out. Maybe it needs less power. Let's try. I'll try something like that. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how they get a Christmas tree asterism out of that. We'll just have to believe them. So here's a view through the 19 millimeter panoptic, 68-degree apparent field of view eyepiece. Just a gorgeous part of the sky. Okay. Let's go back to a naked eye view. Again, this part of the sky here between Orion and Procyon is Monoceros. And let's go for, got one more object, and that's the Cone Nebula. And that's actually inside of NGC 2264, where we just were. So let's go back there. And so this nebulosity that surrounds the Christmas tree cluster is called the Cone Nebula. And I don't see that it has its own catalog number, so I guess it shares its catalog number with NGC 2264. It may be one of these other catalog numbers here listed in the upper left corner. Okay, let's return to a naked eye view of the sky. And this concludes my tour of Monoceros the unicorn. I hope you enjoyed it, and good night and good seeing.